Alright, Google just dropped Nano Banana Pro, and this thing is kind of insane. It's a next-gen image model built on Gemini 3 Pro that can do native 4K, super accurate text, crazy prompt following, and even keep multiple characters consistent across complex scenes. But the real question is, can it actually beat my current favorite 4K model, SeaDream 4.0 from ByteDance, which has been dominating my workflow for a while? So in this video, I'm putting Nano Banana Pro head-to-head against SeaDream 4.0 with some really evil real-world prompts, and by the end, you'll see exactly which one you should be using for text, posters, crowds, celebrity shots, and character-consistent edits. Quick setup before we start testing. I'm running both models on Higgsfield, which just added Nano Banana Pro with full 4K support, and they're running a limited-time Black Friday deal that gives you 65% off plus 1 full year of unlimited Nano Banana Pro generations if you grab any paid plan during the promo window. It's basically the easiest way right now to get uncapped Nano Banana access for cheap. And you can still use SeaDream 4.0 on the same platform for direct A/B testing like I'm doing here. I'll drop my link in the description so you can play with the same setup and try your own prompts after watching this comparison. Once you log into Higgsfield, the homepage already shouts about Nano Banana Pro and the Black Friday deal, and from there, you just jump into the image section and hit Create Image to open the image dashboard. Higgsfield also has its own popcorn model, plus a bunch of others, but for this video, we're only touching Nano Banana Pro and SeaDream 4.0, so you can clearly see how they behave on identical prompts. I'm running everything at 4K to really stress both models and to see how much detail and text quality we can squeeze out of them. Let's start with a classic text-heavy Cyberpunk scene, because this is where a lot of models still fall apart. I used a prompt like, ultra-realistic 4K nighttime cyberpunk Tokyo street scene, dense neon billboards in Japanese and English, every sign with perfect, legible, brand-safe text, reflections on wet pavement, crowds of pedestrians, physically accurate lighting, cinematic, wide-angle lens. Nano Banana Pro's result honestly blew me away. The text on the signs is mostly clean and readable in both English and Japanese. The overall scene is super detailed, and the 4K sharpness really holds up when you zoom in. You get signs like Ramen Synth and the New Tokyo Arcade that are actually spelled correctly, which is still rare in image models. SeaDream's 4.0's take looks great stylistically, and the lighting and atmosphere are on point, but most of the signage is fully Japanese, with almost no meaningful English, and some of the text feels more like stylized gibberish than proper lettering. So on strict prompt following, Nano Banana clearly wins this round. If you zoom into Nano Banana's Cyberpunk image, the limbs are clean and not melting all over the place, but the faces do feel a little bit off in some spots, like there's a subtle uncanny valley vibe, even though the detail level is very high. On the SeaDream side, the faces generally look a bit more natural, but because it ignored the bilingual text requirement, it loses points on instruction following, even if the overall composition still looks nice. So, for this first test, Nano Banana takes it for text accuracy and prompt obedience, while SeaDream stays competitive on vibes and character quality. Next, because Nano Banana Pro is marketed as great for educational content and infographics, I tried a water cycle poster. Evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and collection, all labeled and illustrated on a clean educational layout. SeaDream produced a solid 4K diagram with the main steps visible and a clear sense of the process, but the layout feels a bit generic and not super visually exciting. Nano Banana's version of the water cycle, though, absolutely nails the infographic side. Each step has clear arrows, labels, and readable descriptive text like sun heats water, turning it into vapor, water vapor cools and forms clouds, and water falls as rain, snow, and hail. It looks like something you could print and hang in a classroom, with a clean cycle and well-organized hierarchy of information. So for this round, Nano Banana actually edges out SeaDream on clarity and educational design. Then I really tried to break both models with a tricky split-scene prompt. 4K artwork, where the left half is an ultra-realistic photo of a barista making latte art in a modern cafe, and the right half is an anime version of the exact same scene, with a seamless vertical split and matching composition. Nano Banana kind of misunderstood the assignment at first and generated 2 separate versions of the scene instead of a perfect half-and-half single frame, so you end up with more of a before and after vibe than a clean fused image. SeaDream did slightly better conceptually by giving a vertical split and mixing realistic and anime styles, but it changed the character, so you get one anime girl and one realistic guy instead of one barista rendered in two styles. In practice, both models failed this prompt because neither managed to lock one character and render them consistently across both halves of the same image. For the next test, I went with a dense isometric city scene, 4K top-down isometric illustration of a bustling medieval port city at sunrise, hundreds of tiny characters, ships with rigging, stalls with readable price tags, accurate atmospheric perspective, golden hour lighting, suitable for zoom-in inspection. Nano Banana's output here is seriously impressive. A proper isometric composition with loads of tiny figures working at the docks, market stalls scattered around, and text on little price tags like spices, 10, and wool, which is at least partially legible at 4K. The lighting leans more towards bright exposure than perfect golden hour, but the spatial layout is consistent, and you can zoom in and still see crisp structural detail. SeaDream's version goes for a more 3D style with a single big ship and fewer characters, plus some price tags like 10 silver coins and 5 copper per loaf that look a bit pasted on and less integrated into the scene. It's not bad at all, but Nano Banana handles the dense isometric crowd and integrated text better overall, so it wins this medieval port challenge. I also wanted to see how both models handle celebrity-like faces in a messy, candid group selfie. The prompt was something like, 4K ultra-realistic backstage selfie at an international summit, noisy smartphone front camera, diverse group of world leaders and movie stars shoulder to shoulder, everyone mid-laugh or mid-blink, harsh overhead lighting, flags in the background. Nano Banana gives you a very believable, chaotic selfie with someone who clearly looks like President Biden, plus a mix of celebrity lookalikes, with closed eyes and mid-blink expressions that match the prompt. The SeaDream version also includes a Biden-like figure, someone who resembles Ronaldo and a female singer, and the overall quality is similarly high. Neither model perfectly nails every recognizable face, but both do a strong job of capturing that noisy, overexposed backstage vibe. So for this round, it's basically a tie. Because posters and typography are a huge selling point for Nano Banana Pro, I tested a documentary movie poster prompt, a vertical double exposure design with a young climate activist in profile, and inside the silhouette, a detailed flooding city scene, plus perfectly legible title text, Tides of Tomorrow, in a bold serif font, and fully readable credits at the bottom. SeaDream's poster is already very good. You get the profile, the flooded streets, cracked asphalt, submerged cars, people on rooftops, and a serif title treatment, but the typography and blending aren't perfectly balanced. Nano Banana's taken swaps in a female lead, layers dramatic clouds and volumetric light, and gives a super clean, print-ready composition where the title, subtitle, and credits are all sharp and easy to read, with space for customizable names. Both are strong, but if you care about professional poster layout and text clarity, Nano Banana pulls slightly ahead here. Then came one of the hardest tests, a huge anime gaming convention crowd in 4K, ultra-wide, with thousands of people in cosplay, correct limbs, distinct booths, hanging banners, LED screens, floor reflections, balcony in the distance, and zoom-in-ready detail. Nano Banana's first impression is amazing. From a distance, it absolutely feels like a massive convention hall packed with people, banners, merch booths, and glowing screens. But once you zoom in hard, you start seeing classic crowd problems. Distorted faces, missing limbs, or characters with arms that kind of vanish into clothing or the background. SeaDream's version has fewer people overall, more like dozens rather than thousands, but the limb and face quality is slightly more controlled, especially when zoomed in around the main subjects. So for insane density, Nano Banana looks crazier, but for zoomed-in anatomical stability, SeaDream actually does a bit better.
Next up was an AI productivity app poster with a ton of very specific text. Main title, Flower Forge. Tagline, build better workdays, automate the boring, focus on what matters, plus sections like focus mode, team dashboard, AI assistant, bullet points under each, and a QR code at the bottom. Nano Banana Pro absolutely crushed this. The layout looks like a real SaaS landing page poster, the typography is sharp, the bullet points are correctly positioned, and it even generates a believable fake QR code with clean edges. SeaDream's version is also good. It gets the title, structure, and QR code right, but Nano Banana's text rendering and overall product marketing aesthetic feel more polished and production-ready. If you're into app mockups, startup posters, and UI-driven designs, Nano Banana is clearly ahead here. To push that even further, I tried a solar feed educational infographic poster about how solar power feeds a city, with sections like capture, convert, store, distribute, plus pros and limitations, each with bullet points and icons. SeaDream generated an image where the poster is hanging on a classroom wall, and it does show the main 4 steps with text blocks and some solar icons, but it skipped some of the requested sections like limitations. Nano Banana's version looks like a pro-designed educational chart. Bold headline, 4 clearly separated steps with icons and detailed descriptions, then neatly organized solar advantages and limitations with multiple bullet points under each. For complex, text-heavy infographics, Nano Banana feels on another level, and for me, it completely owns this category. Character consistency is a big selling point for Nano Banana Pro, so I tested that using a reference image of a female model and asking both models to generate a grid of multiple headshots with different expressions, shock, happiness, sadness, crying, disgust, etc., all in a single image. SeaDream actually went beyond the requirements and gave me 12 expressions instead of 8, and several of them are emotionally on point, but the face shape and features drift quite a bit, so it doesn't really feel like the same person in every slot. Nano Banana, on the other hand, sticks to 8 expressions as requested and keeps the face incredibly consistent while still shifting the expression from surprise to laughter to sadness to crying without morphing into a different person. This is exactly the kind of thing Nano Banana Pro is advertised for, consistent people across many variations, and it absolutely delivers here. Then I went even harder with a 9-character test. I gave both models a reference image with 9 different anime characters and asked for a hyper-realistic scene of 9 people standing together on an Oscars stage with red carpet, golden Oscar statues in the background, polished floor reflections, and everyone visible in formal evening wear. SeaDream's result dropped in around 10 random 3D-ish characters that don't resemble the original anime references at all, plus a few oversized Oscar statues, and the whole thing feels more like a generic 3D render than a faithful adaptation. Nano Banana's output is where things get wild. All 9 characters from the reference are present, arranged together on an Oscar-style stage with strong resolution and styling that feels like a polished anime meets photoreal crossover. It doesn't add any random extra people, and the character resemblance is shockingly accurate for all 9 characters, so this is a 100 out of 100 win for Nano Banana on multi-character consistency. For the final chaos prompt, I combined multiple real-world figures, politicians, tech founders, and celebrities into a single holiday desert road trip group photo based on a given reference lineup. The idea was 2 people sitting on top of the car, 1 person tying their shoes, others standing around chatting, sunset in the background, all in one coherent scene. SeaDream tried, but the faces don't really resemble the intended people. Even someone meant to look like The Rock is pretty far off, and the rest just turn into generic strangers with extra odd details like random windows. Nano Banana's generation is honestly just wow. You get Trump and Putin sitting on the van roof, Xi Jinping and Elon Musk chatting on the ground, Sam Altman tying his shoelace, plus 1 extra Xi in the distance as the only real mistake. The likenesses aren't 100% perfect, but are very recognizable, the composition matches the prompt, and the sunset desert vibe is nailed, so Nano Banana dominates this celebrity mashup test. So after all these tests, SeaDream 4.0 is still an awesome model, especially for speed, 4K outputs, and general creative flexibility, and it remains a super solid choice on platforms that offer it. But for this kind of heavy prompt engineering and real production use, Nano Banana Pro feels like the new king in my workflow. If you want to try the exact setup I used, Nano Banana Pro and SeaDream 4.0 are both live on Higgsfield right now, and during the Black Friday window, you can lock in 65% off plus 1 year of unlimited 4K Nano Banana Pro generations with any paid plan, which is honestly a ridiculous value for this level of quality. The link is in the description. Go test your own evil prompts. Let me know in the comments which model won for you. Drop a like if you found this helpful, and I'll see you in the next video with more AI model breakdowns.